Welcome to Meet Edgar's content batching party, everyone. I'm Megan and I'm thrilled you are here. We do have a smaller group today, which is exciting, meaning we can tailor this to get the most value for you guys. In order to do that, I would love to know who's here. So there is a chat box right over here on the right-hand side of your screen. Introduce yourself and let us know what industry you're in. I'm always curious to know what type of content you guys are creating for, whether you're a service or a product-based business. It's also always really fun to connect with others who are on the webinar. Being able to network on here, use this chat section to ask people questions as we are going throughout this presentation. And definitely let me know what you're hoping to get out of the session today. Like I said, with a smaller group, it's always really exciting to be able to come on in here and chat directly to your needs. So our content batching parties are done on a monthly basis with the goal of helping you get really comfortable with the Meet Edgar software. So first, we're going to start out with a short demo of how Edgar works so you feel really confident about how to load content into your account. Then we're going to go over the concept of batching, which is a huge thing that I'd love to get people to start doing with their social media because it saves you a ton of time. And this concept is essentially grouping a like-minded task and doing it all together. So you don't only have to do this with your social updates, right? A lot of business owners do this with any sort of like-minded task. If you're like a podcast host, you want to be scripting on the same day, interviewing on the same day, reaching out and booking people on the same day. Because what happens when we switch tasks all the time is that we actually lose a ton of time onboarding and offboarding, getting into that flow state where we can do our deepest work. So that's the magic of batching. And we'll go over some specific math that you can use within your Meet Edgar account to make sure that you are getting the most from it. So Georgia, hello. Marielle, hello. Welcome, welcome everyone. Guys, use this chat. Maura, my colleague, is going to be in here as well. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen just to go over the Meet Edgar features because I know a lot of you pre-submitted questions that were really based upon the fact that you're new to Edgar, which is super exciting. So if you're a veteran of Edgar, you might want to multitask for the next 5 minutes or so while I show off the features here, or you might want to stay tuned so you can learn a little something new. If my screen goes out while I'm screen sharing, I will promise to be back in 5 seconds. Sometimes this program drops me, still trying to figure that out, and I do appreciate your patience. But let's jump in to setting Edgar up before we get into batching strategies and content creation. So when you first come into your Meet Edgar account, you're going to come to this Accounts tab, and this is where you're hooking up your social media accounts. Super simple process. You're clicking these over here on the left. It'll hook them up over here. You'll know they've hooked up successfully because they'll show as rectangles here. In your Categories tab from this upper navigation menu, this is where the core of Meet Edgar's power really is established, is making sure you have amazing categories to have your followers be educated, entertained, and get value from your social feeds. Because when we do social media, remember, people are not there to get sold to. They are there to learn something. They're there to get an entertaining factor of connecting with their friends. So the more your brand can fit into these concepts, the better you're going to do getting engagement and getting people excited to interact with your brand and ultimately convert. Because you know in that invitation email we sent out, conversations are what about that, guys. Hopefully it wasn't waiting too long. Thank you for your patience there. So as I was saying, your content categories are kind of the core of what Meet Edgar is made up about. And the reason that you see people share really emotionally charged things like memes and inspirational quotes and stuff like that is because people remember the concepts of emotions way more than they remember logic. So some things you want to think about getting into your content strategy is things like your quotes, your memes, stuff like that, so that people are remembering on an emotional level that you made them feel happy. Other categories that you can start to create in your Meet Edgar account, of course, are your blog posts, your podcast, your video content. That is going to be some of the strongest ways that you can take people from social media and actually share that content so they are going from the platform to your site. You want to always make sure that you're letting people know where to find you on and off of social media, because we don't own our followers on social media. So the main goal of social media is to drive traffic to your site, to get people to sign up for your product or service, for your email newsletter, and to enjoy your social feeds. So the concept of selling on social really is a concept of making sure people are enjoying the content you're sharing out there. And categories are one way that you can do that. Welcome, Lynn. Welcome, Jennifer. Thank you so much for joining here. I'm going to try this screen share again. Thank you so much for your patience, guys. So when you're setting up your categories in Meet Edgar, it comes with some predetermined categories for you. And this is just based upon what we know works really well. So again, blog posts, doing things like funny content, inspirational quotes, questions is a huge one I recommend for people. And this is just because a lot of the time we say, oh my gosh, I'm not getting any engagement on my posts. But we look at our content and there's no call to action to actually reply to a question we asked or to actually get out there and do something. So make sure you're asking questions. Some of the things that I really like to recommend when you're asking questions on social media is not always making them really hard questions, because people don't want to be on social media to dig really deep into their soul and answer questions all the time, right? They want to answer fun questions a lot of the time. So things like, hey, what was the last book you read? Or hey, what's an app on your iPhone that you cannot live without? Or hey, are you a Netflix or a Hulu person? If you can get your followers to answer these smaller, simpler questions, it's a lot easier than to throw in maybe a little bit more of a persona research question where you're asking your followers about what type of content they want to see, and they'll actually be more likely to reply back to you because you've almost trained them to do this with those simpler questions. So if you have a question category within your Meet Edgar account, I'm really going to encourage you to do that. And finding questions is super simple. We've got some spreadsheets with some predetermined questions that I'll share for you in a bit, but some strategies here to take are just going out and Googling like icebreaker questions or interview questions is a really good strategy, because these are fun questions that you can just copy and paste into your Edgar account to send out to your community every once in a while to boost that engagement. So once you get your category set up, once you've thought really strongly about what type of content your followers want to see, you can always add your own categories. If you're on Edgar, our main plan, you can have unlimited categories. If you're on Edgar Lite, you have 4 categories to choose from. Or you can rename any of these categories with this pencil icon here to make it match your brand strategy. So truly, categories are the backbone of Edgar. So take some time actually filling these out and making sure that the categories you're using are supporting the content you're putting out there. So once you get your category set up, you're going to start adding your content to Edgar. There are 4 ways to add content into your library. First is manually with this Add New Content button right up here. When you click to add new content, you're going to check off the accounts you'd like this piece of content to go out to over here on the left. If you don't have something checked off over here, Edgar will never send it out. So it's a great way to separate different brands. So like if you're using this for your company, but you also want to use this to brand your You are my heroes for staying put. Thank you so much. Oh, Jennifer, I'll be fine. I do have to figure this out, but I appreciate those sympathies. Cool. So like I was saying, as you're adding your content, you can always choose the accounts that you would like to share this content out to over here on the left. So when you're doing this, if something over here is not checked off, Edgar will never send it there. So a great way to separate out brand messaging or network messaging. I myself love to use Edgar for my personal LinkedIn account, just to make sure you get that expert status on your personal LinkedIn account, but then you can still keep those categories for your business separated and share different content in different places. So that's a great pro tip to use there. As you're going along and checking off the accounts over here, you're also choosing the category, so what type of post this is, and then writing the content in this section here. Once you're happy with how your post looks, you can save it to your library. Now you can of course attach a photo or a video with these icons right down here from your computer, or if you have a URL in this section, so let's say I wanted to send people to meet Edgar and I want to know what this post is actually going to look like when I post it, this preview tab right here will let you see like the link preview that has been established. You can always use this drop-down menu to see like what it's going to look like on each network that way. So a great way just to have a peace of mind of what it's going to look like. So you can absolutely add hashtags into Meet Edgar, Dina. There's no like automatic hashtag finder. I do love that as a feature request that we will pass along to our team. But super simple, you're just gonna put hashtag like this. Once it sends, it'll be included as an explorable hashtag on Instagram, on Twitter, wherever you're putting it. So just put it in the text box here. So once you save a piece of content, it saves to your Meet Edgar library. Now, the library in Edgar is just a catalog of all of your content. Essentially, everything that you add will be stored here. You can always search in this search bar right up top here. You can also always use these filters to filter to see certain content. A couple of other ways to actually get content into your library is going to be in this import tab. So the import tab in Edgar will allow you to upload a spreadsheet of content. So we have for you guys this spreadsheet right here. If you'd like to use these, you can see down here that we have a bunch of questions or like productivity tips and stuff, all pre-populated in this spreadsheet for you. And I will pop this into the chat. It'll also be in the replay email once we send this replay email out. So this is the one, if you've been to a content batching party before, this is the exact same spreadsheet we usually share. It hasn't been updated. We'll definitely work on updating it because we want you guys to come back to these parties. But this is a great resource if you're just getting started to get content into the library right away. It's a super simple setup if you want to make your own spreadsheet as well. You'll notice that I just clicked this hyperlink and I'm directed to our help center where you can see the setup of the spreadsheet is just going to be the category in column B. It's got to match exactly what the category in Edgar is, so no different spacing or anything like that. And then the status update in column A. When you're uploading it, upon uploading it, Edgar will prompt you for the account connections. And again, a great way to get multiple status updates into Edgar at once. The second thing in the import tab is the RSS feed section. So this RSS feed section is amazing if you have a blog or if you like to share curated content from other people's blogs. Now, if I wanted to share all of the Meet Edgar blog posts, all I need to do is put my URL in here, click Find RSS Feed. Edgar is going to do all the work to connect the RSS feed here. So I just need to add this to my blog post category, scroll down to give the account permissions of where these posts are allowed to send to. And then I have two options you'll notice. One is to send these directly into my library, and one is to send them to a pending content queue. So your choice here is going to depend on if you want the process to approve or reject a post first, you're going to select pending. What happens with the feeds that you add here, whether it's your blog or if you're adding in other people's blogs, is Edgar checks any RSS feeds you add every 24 hours. If a new post has been released within that time frame, Edgar will automatically pull that post over into your library or pending content queue. So it's a great way, again, just if you like to share curated content, to get that content into your library automatically. I always suggest if you're sending this from other people's blogs to put it in your pending content section. I don't have any in here right now, but in the library, if you go to this pending content section here, this is where any posts brought over from those RSS feeds would live. And you just have the ability to approve it, reject it, or edit it. Because when you share curated content from other people's blogs or other podcasts, we always suggest putting your own thought leadership in there. So much of the time we get a little bit afraid to share like other people's content because we're like, wait a minute, I want my content to drive traffic to my site. But the reason you want to do this is because on social media, your main goal is to become an expert in something, right? You want to position yourself as the logical go-to person in your industry when people need your product or service. So that means you have to go really deep on your subject area expertise. But sometimes it's really helpful to share other things about your industry. And this is a way that you can create this really great knowledge for your community that might be on the periphery of your knowledge scape, and you don't want to spend a lot of time actually researching that and stuff, but you still want to get that value out to your followers. So you can create that and ask your followers, hey, what do you think about this article? This is why I'm sharing it. This is why I love it. And that's a great way to produce engagement with curated content. It also really allows you to start to build different relationships with your community. So with others in your industry, you can, if they see you sharing their blog articles, it's likely they might share yours in the future. And we want to have that collaborative approach on social media. So collaboration over competition is definitely always the right mindset to have, and putting curated recommended content into your social media strategy is one really great way to achieve that. All right, so the last way of adding content into your Meet Edgar account is going to be with our browser extension. So this is pretty cool. So if I bring up a blog post, so this is going to be a blog post from the Meet Edgar blog, but this could be any article you find online. If I go ahead and click on this little Meet Edgar icon that you see in the upper right corner of my toolbar, it's actually going to pop up the Add New Content screen right on this blog post. What a time saver, right? So it'll come pre-populated with the title and the URL. Of course, we always recommend adding a little more of a status update than that. Again, checking off the accounts you want this to go out to over here on the left, assigning it to a category, scrolling down and clicking Save to Library. Great way for you to be able to do this with a blog that you don't necessarily want to copy and paste into Edgar or add as an entire RSS feed. So if you'd like to download that extension, I will drop in where you can get that. If you also go to our help article and you type in extension, it'll be included there for you, but it is right here if you do want to find it. And like I said, huge time saver, especially for this. Do you recommend creating the quotes or questions into images? Yes, great question, Dina. So our bulk importer is only for text and URLs. That won't work for images. So you can, of course, go ahead and upload that, and afterwards enter your Meet Edgar library and click edit on the posts to add in an image. As you mentioned, especially for Instagram, you do have to have a photo or a video attached to the post in order for it to go to Instagram. So 100% go use a program like Canva or something where you can actually get in there and make these quotes into images. Images are a great way to switch up your content medium as well on any platform. So amplify it out if you do create these messages for Instagram and you're adding those images in. Go ahead and amplify it out to Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn as well, just to get the most out of your content and to give people on each network the ability to communicate or the ability to consume your content in a lot of different means. Great question. All right, so once we get our content into our library, it's going to be time to start scheduling our content. So scheduling in Edgar is done in two ways. The first way is on this weekly repeating schedule. So this is a week view. However, this week repeats over and over again, so you only have to set it up once. You can see this is where the categories come into play. So when you're setting up your schedule, I always want to keep in mind what we call the 80-20 rule. 80% of your content should be so valuable, again, educational or entertaining. 20% can be a little more promotional, whether that's giving people a discount, whether that's asking people to sign up for your newsletter or join your lead magnet or something like that. So when you're setting these categories up on your schedule, super simple, click into the area, select the accounts you'd like this to go out to, select the type of post you want to go out, and click on Save. So you can see this is now a category. How this is working with the library is what we refer to as a last in, first out rotation. So Edgar's hitting this category and pulling the most recent post you added to that category in the library. He's pulling it to send out. He's then putting that post to the end of the line in the library and moving along. Next time he hits that category, he'll send the next update out, put it to the end of the line and move along. And he's going to work his way through all of the content in that category. Once he reaches the bottom and there's no new content, that's when he'll start from the top again, resurfacing your older content for new followers to see, as well as those who didn't have the opportunity to see it the first time. So a good rule of thumb here is also to make sure you're placing your categories in a ratio of how often you want things to repeat. So let's take some simple math, for example. If you have 10 posts in your blog post category and you place that category on your schedule once, it'll be 10 weeks before Edgar repeats anything. If you place it on your schedule twice, it'll be 5 weeks before Edgar repeats anything. If you're continuously adding new content, Edgar will always favor that new content before posting any of the older content. So again, it's all about how much content you have in the library versus how often that schedule is on here to know how often things are going to repeat. Now, if you've never tried an evergreen posting strategy before, I want you to also think about the fact that you see everything you post on social media, but your followers do not. So don't be afraid about repeating a message, because it goes into positioning yourself as an expert as well. This idea that if someone sees you repeat the same concepts more than once, it's likely they'll start thinking of you as a super great expert in that area. You can also make sure that you are setting your categories to go out at different times of day. So if you're doing a blog post in the morning one day, consider a blog post in the evening on a different day. So people who consume social at different times are seeing different content from you. As you're setting your categories up, I love to remind you to also make sure you're thinking about what's going on in your ideal audience's day. So what are they doing in the morning? Would a quote help them the most? Would a blog post to read with breakfast help them the most? What are they doing when they get home from work? Would a video or a podcast be helpful for them? Would asking a question be fun for them to engage with? This is the power of knowing your ideal audience persona to a really deep level to make sure your content is supporting their day. All right, so how you know what posts are going out when is in the queue tab. So the queue is going to be your connection between the posts in the library and the time slots on the schedule. It'll give you a date and it'll give you the posts that are going out. If you skip a post with this little fast forward button in the queue, it'll put the post to the end of the line in the library and pull in the next post. You can always pause the queue if you want to stop all automation. If anything in the world is going on that you feel like you need to not send out your posts, that's the way you'll do that in the Edgar. All right, so there's one more way of scheduling that I'd love to go over, and that's for like your holiday specific posts or like your one-day discounts for like Black Friday or something. That you're going to do on the content level itself. So same dealio, check off the accounts you want it to go out to over here. Select if you want to leave it in the general category. Some people like to create a category called like holidays and just leave that category off of your schedule so that Edgar is not sending from there unless you schedule it in the way I'm about to show you. Go ahead and write your post like Happy New Year's here. Then rather than saving it, this drop down arrow has two options. So send now and save will send this post 1 minute after you click it to whatever accounts are connected over here. So this is a great option if you find like a trending news article you want to send out to all of your accounts, but don't want to spend the time logging into each of them. You can send now and save. If it is a trending article that you don't want to be repeated in your evergreen schedule, under advanced settings, just make sure you mark it as a use once post. So when Edgar sends it once, he'll automatically expire it. Schedule send and save is going to give you the ability to put a specific day and time you'd like this post to send out. Edgar will save this post until this day and time is reached. He'll send it out to whatever accounts are attached over here, and then he'll expire it if use once is checked off. So a great way to get all of your holiday content scheduled so you can rest and enjoy the holiday season. All right. So I promise we'll get to batching. I want to go over one other thing before we do that, which is Twitter. So Twitter has a term of service that says you cannot send the same tweet to the same Twitter account more than once anymore. For this reason, you'll notice that your tweets do expire in your Meet Edgar library once they send out. That is actually what our variations feature is for. So this is included in the lower left of the text box. You'll notice if I click to add a variation, a second text box pops up. This is where you can alter the language you are using. So add a different question, ask a different question, add a different headline, tell a different story about it, alter the language in some way, and you can still reshare that concept or that link on Twitter. These variations will work for every single network. So for Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, those will all still work. It was specifically built for Twitter so that we can reshare your content there. So these variations will not share back to back. They're gonna go ahead and share one. It'll work in a last in, first out order as well. So when this whole post is up in your rotation, Edgar will share the last variation you added. He'll expire it for Twitter. The next time this whole post is up in your rotation, he'll send the next variation out. So a great way to add a little bit of variety into your content. Auto variations is one of the coolest parts here. So again, this is a blog post. It can be from your blog. You can even do this with like show notes from a podcast. If you put a URL in here, you'll get this auto generate variations feature. If I click to auto generate variations, Edgar is pulling out pull quotes from within this article that you can actually add as variations here, which is a great way for you to tease a little bit, spike a little curiosity into what's going to be in that article and have those variations written for you. Awesome. All right, so that's adding the content in there. Now let's go ahead. Let me check in here, Jennifer. Oh, awesome. I'm so glad you used that feature, Jennifer. Deborah, variations are amazing. Cool. I'm so glad you guys found those useful and are using them. All right, so let's jump into the concept of batching here. So what batching is making sure you're only creating your social media content on a scheduled system. So you're not doing it just on a one-off post every day. The best way to describe this, I always think, is like baking a batch of cookies. If you bake one cookie after bringing out all that ingredients, what a waste of time, right? No, you're gonna bake a batch of cookies. Same with your social media status updates. So I have this worksheet that I'll share with you guys here. And we'll go over the math that you're going to want to do in order to come up with how often and how much content to post. So this is the worksheet I'm going over now if you want to grab a copy. But you'll see here that after you set up your categories, so these are some categories ideas, the categories come in helpful to know how much content you're going to create. I love to suggest doing batching on a monthly basis because that means you're only having to create social media status updates 12 times a year. That sounds way better, right? But you, of course, can do this on a weekly basis, whatever works best for you. Whenever you hear strategies in business, I always like to remind you not to take them as like the gold standard. It has to work for you and it has to be something that you are going to follow. So go ahead and block out time, whether it's weekly or monthly, to do this, but do the math. So that's going to be right here as an example. And you're going to want to replace these numbers with what works for your brand. So let's say you want to send out 6 status updates a day, 5 days a week. That math adds up to doing 30 status updates a week or 120 status updates a month. If you have 6 categories set up in Meet Edgar, that's only having to add 20 status updates per category per month. Now that makes way more easier, right? So every month you can maybe block out like the first Friday or something like that. And you come into your Meet Edgar account and you say, okay, I need to find 20 quotes to add to my Meet Edgar quotes category. clarification. I am so sorry. My internet is really doing terrible things to me this week. Thank you so much. Okay. So as I was saying, as you are doing your content creation, I really would suggest that you guys do a concept also called upcycling. So the main way that you get the most out of Edgar is truly setting up your categories in a way that you're being really mindful about how they're supporting your community's day. B, batching your content so that you're adding it to your library only once a week or once a month. And C, making sure that you are actually going in there and getting the most out of your well-researched content. Oh, Latasha, sorry, if you can't hear, perhaps try refreshing your browser. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, cool. So upcycling is this concept of taking one really well-researched piece of content, like a blog post or like a podcast, and making it into 5 to 10 different status updates. So if I have a blog post that I've researched really well, I can get different pull quotes from within that podcast, or excuse me, within that blog post, and make them into things like the variations. But what I can also do is share them as text-only tips, because perhaps someone's standing in line at the grocery store scrolling through their phone and they don't have time to actually click on your blog post to read the entire thing. But what they might have time to do is actually get in there and read just a small tip from you. And again, you're staying on top of mind of your followers during their day. So you want to think about presenting this, presenting all of your well-researched content in different formats. What else could you do with that blog post? Well, you could get out your phone and film a 2-minute video of you actually going in there and talking about some of the main concepts. You've already done the research. Why not get more mileage out of that content? So again, with Edgar's evergreen strategy of resurfacing your status updates, it's great because if you don't have time to batch it 1 month, you'll know your feeds will still consistently be fed, but also making sure you're upcycling. And if you're not practicing a concept of upcycling, you're truly doing too much work. You don't have to reinvent the wheel with every single status update. You just need to make sure that you're getting the most out of the great content you're putting out there. So that worksheet that I shared also has the concept of upcycling on there to help get you off the content creation treadmill and make sure that you are really getting the most out of everything you're researching well. So batching your content into categories to start conversations with people, to have them have an emotional connection with your brand, and to make sure that your social media feed isn't a place where you're just broadcasting promotions all the time and using it as a way that you're just getting your own stuff out there, but using it in a way that you're creating relationships. I always like to put this out there as well, that there's an article, it's pretty old now, I'm not sure if any of you have read it. I think it's by, I always get this mixed up, but I think it's by Kevin Kelly, called 1,000 True Fans. And this is the idea that a smaller, more engaged audience of 1,000 true fans is way more powerful than a lackluster audience of millions of fans. So a lot of the time we hear that you're having struggles actually getting new followers to your pages, right? That's one of the goals that you might have to grow your social media network. I would love for your content to actually be connecting and showing up for the followers that you have now, and for you to have a really strong connection, a one-on-one connection with those followers. That's how you're going to stand out and create really great relationships on social media. So don't be afraid to be one of those companies who has a one-on-one relationship with your customers and who do things that doesn't necessarily scale, like DMing people and stuff like that is a really big thing that you can do in order to create those bonds so that you get those raving fans and those word of mouth marketings. Thank you, Maura, for sharing that. And I think content categories really go into the fact that if you are just talking to those 1,000 true fans and that you're not needing to speak with people all of the time, like if you're not needing to speak and please everyone all the time, that's when it goes into really making sure that you have your audience persona defined. So take that and make sure you're going there. All right, so I know a lot of you did pre-submit some questions, so I'm gonna start answering a few of those, but I would also love to hear any social media questions, whether it's about Edgar, like workflows in Edgar, or whether it's about social media that you'd love for us to answer today. As you guys are going through your account and looking for different content to add in there, So let me know in the chat and I'll do a little bit of Q&A there. And I'm also gonna pop in and see some of these pre-submitted questions. I know I did see Mariella, you were in here and you asked about posting Instagram with link in bio. So you guys all know that one of our main points of Edgar is to drive traffic from social media to your site. Doing this on Instagram can be a little challenging sometimes because the link that you put in your status update isn't clickable. So if you want to promote a blog post on Instagram, a lot of the time what you'll see brands do is use the language link in bio. So the link in bio language, and I'll show you how we do this on our Instagram account here at Meet Edgar, allows your community to know, hey, if you go to the bio of my Instagram account, there'll be a clickable link because that's the only clickable link you have on Instagram. So I'm going to share my screen and show this to you now. Hopefully my internet doesn't hate me today again. There we go. All right, so you'll notice this is the Meet Edgar Instagram account, and we use this that allows you to have multiple links stored in it. It's a program called Linktree. You can also just swap out this link in your bio because, again, this is the only one that's actually going to be clickable. So you'll notice when you click that link in our bio, we actually have everything that we've promoted, like in the past week, up here. So it's going to be like our blog posts. It's going to be anything we're promoting, like a webinar that people can click on and be directed there. So we have this building your own personal brand blog post. And within the post on our Instagram account, we're going to say the link is in our profile. So find out more at the link in our profile. So that's how you get people to click on it. Now, a lot of times, people don't actually take the action when you say link in profile to actually go there, you know, that's asking a lot of people. They have to be really interested in the guys. Okay, so that link in profile really allows you to make sure that people are able to click there. Sometimes people won't actually click on that link in their profile because that means they have to leave their feed that they're scrolling through, actually go and click on your profile to find that link. So another strategy for driving traffic from Instagram to your blog is doing something like actually putting this into your stories, let's say, or even on your feed and saying, hey, if you're interested in learning more, so taking a snippet from within that blog post and saying something like, hey, if you're interested in learning more, let me know by saying yes on this post. So all people have to do is like type yes, or you could say leave an emoji on this post if you're interested in learning more. Every single person who leaves an emoji on that post, or if you're doing it in your stories, you could use like the poll feature and set up a poll in your Instagram stories with yes or no. Everyone who does that, you can now DM the link to your blog post to them. So this works really well on Instagram for a couple of reasons. One, because you're actually getting people to go to your site. And two, because DMs actually go into the Instagram algorithm. And the more DMs that you have with your community, the more the algorithm sees that people are actually interested in seeing your content. So it's going to be more points towards making sure your content is showing up in their feed. So those one-on-one sort of what we call dark social communication, so those things that aren't out in the light, they're done in those DMs. Those are things that the Instagram algorithm is actually paying attention to. So do those things. That's a really great way to drive traffic in that sense. If you guys are new to Edgar and you're not sure how the Instagram connection works, we actually do Instagram with push notifications. So super simple setup. You're adding your content into Meet Edgar in the exact same way. If you are doing this with something like a blog post, Meet Edgar has a really cool way to do this with something called suggested images. So again, if I put a URL in here, let me go ahead and redo this actually. So if I put a URL into this section here, oops, that's not a blog URL. You'll notice that Edgar will actually scrape that URL, and these images that are found here are actually being pulled from that blog post. So if you wanted to share this onto Instagram, you can actually just select an image, to add, and it'll add as a static image here. And then you can do the little writing a tip and say link in bio, so that this then goes out to your followers in that way. So I would suggest using that suggested images for blog posts, stuff like that. But for Instagram, you're adding your content in the exact same way. You're scheduling it in the exact same way, making sure your time slots are connected to Instagram. And then when an Instagram post is ready to go out, what actually happens is a push notification is going to come to your phone. When that push notification comes and you acknowledge it, Edgar will then copy the photo to your camera roll. It will copy the text to your phone's clipboard, at which point, once you tap to open Instagram from within the Edgar app, all you have to do is find and filter your photo to your story or to your feed, and then tap. You know when you like tap on your phone and that little paste bubble comes up? You'll just tap to paste the text and you'll be good to go there. Fingers crossed, we'll get direct posting for Instagram sometime. They do have to approve us for that. So in the meantime, it's a great way to batch out on your Instagram content. If you ever miss a notification, rest assured the post will still be in there for you. If you have not downloaded the Instagram app yet, this post right here in our help center, which I'll pop in the chat, will allow you to do that there. When you import more than one of those suggested images, do they all group in one post? Yes, Dina, so they do. Yeah, I got you there. So if you add multiple photos to one post on Edgar, all of the photos will share at the same time. So like on Instagram, it'll be a scrollable one. On Facebook, all of them will share. And if you hover your mouse like over the camera image on your Meet Edgar Composer, it'll pop up and tell you how many photos are allowed per network. But yeah, they'll all share per network. Exactly. So we are actually working on a feature currently right now as we speak that'll allow you to add different images for each variation. But currently, as it's set up right now, Edgar will share all of the photos with every single variation. I don't know exactly when the variations and photos is going to be released, but we'll definitely keep you guys updated on that. And I am very excited for that feature as well. And I always suggest, especially for Instagram, having multiple photos is actually a really good strategy to take, because what the algorithm does is if you have multiple photos there, is it's going to start testing which photo gets people to dwell on it and gets people to like and comment on it the most. So when you go in there and say you have 2 photos on there, if Instagram sees that people are not liking the first photo, but if they've shown the second photo as the main image, they're actually going to go ahead and share that second photo with more people if they see more people double tapping when they see the second photo first. I know that was kind of wordy to explain, but I think it made sense. If not, let me know. Will we be able to add bullets to text posts in the future? So I'm not 100% sure what you're asking here. So if you're trying to do like line breaks or anything like that within your Meet Edgar account to send to Instagram, the trick here is you want to make sure there's not a space before or after the last or first word in the text that you're writing. So you know, like when you're sending stuff to Instagram, if you want it to be paragraphed out in your Meet Edgar account as you're writing here, you just can't have a space after this last word or period right here. So make sure you don't hit the space bar and click return. And then before the first word, make sure you don't hit the space bar either. And that's how you get those line breaks. You know, for bullets, you could definitely consider doing it in this section and putting like a little dash right there from your keyboard. And then once this transfers over and copies over, Edgar will be able to then have that go out with the line breaks once you paste it into Instagram. So that might be something you try, just making sure you get those line breaks there. But yeah, I will go ahead and research this and bring it up. If you guys do have feature requests as well, I will, oh, it doesn't look like I have it saved. I will grab our feature request form. It's actually a form, meetedgar.com/feature request. So this is like an upvote and downvote place that you can go to. And it's great for us to hear directly from you what features you want to see from Edgar, so our product team can help use those to guide our content creation strategy. And I will grab that for you 1 second here and put that in the chat in a minute. Does the Facebook algorithm like multiple images too? So it's definitely not the same testing as Instagram, just because when Facebook shares multiple images, you know, they share it like side by side so you can see all of them. So it's not going to do the same testing necessarily that Instagram does with what images featured first for people to see. You know, I always suggest it's got to be you going in there and testing these things out. To see what works best for your community. If you have like a product or service that people really do love to see a lot from, go ahead and like if you have a mug that has a photo on one side and a different photo on the other, definitely do 2 images for that and take advantage of it. But it's not going to be the same as if you were doing it on Instagram in that way. There's a feature request form. If you guys do have any features, we would love to hear it from you. Is there a way to categorize the content coming from an RSS feed? So when you add an RSS feed to Edgar, you can only assign it to one category. So when you go into Edgar here, if you need an RSS feed going into different categories, what I suggest doing is sending it to the pending content queue. So when you come to your import tab here and you type this in, you'll notice when you click find RSS feed, you're assigning it to a category. One feed can only be assigned to one category. But if you send it to your pending content queue in the library here, and you come to your pending content queue in the library, remember, nothing's going to send out from the pending content queue until you edit or approve it. It'll look just like the posts in your library. So let's pretend I'm in my pending content queue right now if I had content in there. So once you go into the pending content queue, there'll be a button that says edit. So you could come in and you could actually recategorize the post if you needed some of them categorized into a different one. But currently you can only add an RSS feed to one category. You can't have it split up in that way. Cool, good questions there. Cool, I'm gonna go check out a couple of other pre-submitted questions. Let me know what other strategy or Meet Edgar questions you guys have as I pop in here. Oh, cool. So I know a lot of you actually pre-submitted questions all about building your list, which I am super excited to hear you guys are thinking about, because list building is one of the best things that you can do for your company, is making sure you have people on your email list in order to nurture them. So if you have not yet created what we call a lead magnet, so something that's going to get people a little bit of value, whether it's a PDF or whether it's a video or whether it's even a webinar sign up that you're collecting email addresses from, what you're going to do is you're going to put that out on social media, and it's going to be what we call a gated piece of content. So Meet Edgar has a few of these. I'll show you one right here. It's called our secret blogging formula. And it's just essentially what we did is we realized we had a lot of content on our blog that was all about creating a great blog, right? So in order to get that content into a pretty PDF, we created an ebook out of it so that people didn't have to sift through our whole blog to find it all. So it was all there for you. And we now use this as a lead magnet. So we have it as a gated piece of content. You can see it's up on our blog here. And you're just putting your email address in here, and Edgar will go ahead and send this ebook to you. We're now collecting your email address so you can be on our newsletter. We can nurture you to make sure that you're the right fit for our software and that it's going to really add value for you. And we can keep building that relationship with you over email. So if you don't have a lead magnet yet, sharing your lead magnets on social is how you build your list off of social media. So again, it does not have to be an ebook. You can do something like a joint webinar with a company that has a similar audience to you, and you can go ahead and get people's emails registered that way. You're not only getting your brand in front of their company's eyes and theirs in front of yours, but as you're promoting it on social media, people are opting in. So you're taking your social media followers and bringing them into your community. We also have a lead magnet that's for a Facebook or for an email series called Social by 7. Super duper simple setup. It's just off of like a free landing page on MailChimp. So if you have an email service provider that allows you to make a landing page, We set up a landing page that people can opt into. It's a 7-day email series that just teaches you how to essentially do what we're talking about here. Categorize and systemize your social media strategies to get more engagement and to get more conversation online or on social media. It teaches you all about building what we call your know, like, and trust factor. So how you get your unique selling proposition and your unique personality to build trust with your community and position yourself as an expert in your industry. So we teach all these things, and people can opt into the 7-day series on this landing page that we made out of MailChimp, and we're collecting email addresses that way. So if you're looking to build your list, just think about what you can teach your ideal audience. And it doesn't have to be necessarily directly related to your product or service, right? So this is one of the things I always like people to think about on social media as well is, not everyone is ready for a social media scheduling tool. You guys are smart, so you guys are ready and know that it's going to save you so much time, and that's why you're here. But not everyone, A, knows that a social media scheduling tool exists, or B, is ready to actually purchase one. So we need to be thinking about the other things those people are interested in learning, right? So if they're not ready to buy right away, what other things can we nurture and teach them and build trust with them on now? Well, we can teach them about blogging and content marketing. If you get a lot of content out there and you get a great blog, you're going to want to share it on social media to get the engagement on that blog and to drive traffic to it. We can teach people about how to actually craft content, where to source it, why curating content is good, why you should share quotes, why you should categorize your status updates, right? All of these core concepts are used within the Meet Edgar software, but these don't necessarily have to be used with our software. It takes a ton more time to do this strategy without Meet Edgar, but we can still teach these concepts to people. The more we teach them and the more that they put them into action, whether it's on our lead magnets or just with our social media posts, and the more that they're seeing results from what we're teaching them, the more they're going to say, okay, these people know what they're talking about. I'm seeing results. Maybe it is time for me to pay a little more attention about how their tool can actually help me. That trust is so important, and you're only going to build that trust if you, A, describe your followers' pain point in a way that they understand. So we understand our community is a community who is short on time, right? You guys are small business owners. You're people who are working and hustling hard to get your business out there. So you don't have a lot of time. So we know that we need to teach you strategies like batching. That's going to save you time. And that's something that we can teach to bring people into the brand awareness that we exist as well. So what is that for your company? What is that for your service? What are those things that aren't necessarily directly selling like a social media automation tool, but are still things that you can teach people to get them results and to show the value you have? If you're like a fitness instructor, perhaps your lead magnet or perhaps what you're teaching people could be something like a checklist for what to buy at the grocery store to stay healthy. It's not you teaching them a workout. It's not giving away that paid content that you're creating so well out there for free, but it's still something people can find valuable. So that's how you grow your list on social media. You produce so much value through people by letting people know who you are through like a behind the scenes content category, perhaps within Meet Edgar. So setting up a category called behind the scenes to show off who you actually are, to share, your origin story, where you came from, why you started, what values your company is based upon. These things make up some of the most powerful status updates you can put out there. Tell your story in these status updates. If you're someone who doesn't have a content category within Meet Edgar where you're putting pictures of your team or yourself or telling the values of your company, I really suggest you create one right now. Hop into that category and start creating them because truly people want to know how you started, where you're from, and we purchase from companies whose values align with our own identity as well. So make sure that you have some of those values and mission-driven statements and why you started your company going out on social media. That's going to build trust. Make sure you have your tips category where you're giving people actionable tips that they can take so that you're getting people results and moving people closer to their desired outcome. And that you have status updates that are leading people to your site, whether it's leading people to your lead magnet or leading people to your blog posts or podcasts or YouTube videos, whatever kind of content creator you are. Make sure you have engagement questions. That is your best algorithm buster out there, is a community who wants to engage. Ask questions, get some icebreaker questions out there. When you read your status updates, ask yourself, if I was one of my followers, would I know the next logical step that I'm trying to take? If you can answer that as a yes, great. If you're saying no, go back and think how you can put a strong call to action in every single one of your status updates. Make sure you're inspiring people. That's some of the most shared content on social media. So have an inspirational category, whether it's you sharing your thought leadership to inspire people to action, or whether it's you going out and Googling inspirational quotes. We all love to keep our energy high to make sure that we're getting through the day super inspired. And like I said, people love to share that content that inspires them to their own pages, just making sure that your brand is being opened up to their followers, which is really great too. So again, these categories, think about them as a way that you're just speaking to your followers. You're having a conversation, and social media becomes so much easier when you think of it in that way, and you're not stressing yourself out thinking every single status update has to sell someone, because that's not the way to win on social media. It truly isn't. So if you've never tried this system, I am so excited to hear how it works for you. All right, so we are coming up on our hour here. I want to be respectful of your guys' time. So there's one last thing I want to show you in Edgar that has to do with batching, but please in the comments over here, or the chat box, let me know if there are any last minute questions you want me to go over. I'll stay on for a little bit longer, of course, if you do. But one other strategy about batching is batching your engagement. So within Meet Edgar, in your history tab, there's a way that you can get to every single content item Edgar has sent out from the history tab. So I suggest at the end of your day, leaving 10 minutes to come to your history tab and batching your engagement as well. This way you don't ever miss a comment that was made. And this way you're again making sure that you're doing a like-minded task together, so you're not wasting a lot of time. So when you come to your Meet Edgar History tab, this is just a list of everything Edgar has sent out for you. If you actually hit this little arrow right here, it's going to direct you to the post right on the social media network, where you can see if there are any comments, any likes, anything like that. So this is a great way at the end of your day just to click this arrow that's next to the timestamp and see the comments that you need to respond to there. The other thing in your history tab I always love to point out is you can actually track how many clicks have occurred on each post with this all-time clicks column right up here. If you click the all-time clicks header in this last column, it'll show you how many people clicked on each link. This is important because, again, it's not necessarily the vanity metrics of likes and shares that are going to drive the biggest growth for your business. It's going to be people who are actually taking the time of saying, wow, I'm on Facebook right now, but this article looks so compelling that I'm willing to leave Facebook and go to this company's site to consume this article. That's a really good sign that you have an engaged follower right there. So that's why we click the track the click-through rates on your posts there. And it's great to sort it just to start to notice different times of day and patterns and when people are posting these things, so that you can really start to make sure that your time slots on your schedule are aligned at the times that people are clicking on the most thing. Awesome. Cool. So you guys have been so patient with my internet issues today, as well as asked some really good questions. We do content batching parties every month, and we're trying a lot to figure out, I think a lot of new people were on today. We're trying to figure out if you guys want to come back to content batching parties and get like a lot of different content from them, or if you're probably just going to take this batching and leave, so and not attend another one. So let me know. You can always email support@meetedgar.com with any feedback on how this went. I know the internet issues could have gone better, so I'll take that feedback right now. Awesome. Oh, Susanna, thank you so much for coming back. I'm so glad we had you again. Cool. Okay, so cool. You guys would like to come back. Cool. So I'll work on getting new tips every month for you guys then. Okay, cool. That's awesome to hear. You'd come back. Cool. If you guys do have any specific like social media posts that you're looking to add, any like network you're really working on, of course, in the content batching party pre-submission form, go ahead and let us know. But also, I'm the one who does the inbox here at Meet Edgar. So email support@meetedgar.com at any time. And I love to hear content creation ideas that your content batching party things you want to do. Oh, Denver, you use it for your monthly batching. That is exactly how we were intending it to be used. So you are making my heart just swell right now. Thank you for saying that. If you guys do want to come back, the form here will, of course, send out an invite next month. But that form will always allow you to go ahead and sign up for the content batching parties. And yeah, like I said, you guys were amazing today. Thank you for asking such great questions. Thank you for your patience. Email support@meetedgar.com, even if it's just a strategy question. We love, love, love chatting social media, and please stay in touch. And I will see you guys again, hopefully next month, or join our live streams every day too. So we go live on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook page, and on our LinkedIn page every single day, just chatting really casually about different social media topics. So join in then, and I will see you again next week. Thanks so much, guys.